Trump, the QFS, and the Galactic Federation, the dawn of the new era. You arrive at this moment as who opens a window in the middle of a night loaded with forecasts and murmurs. You feel that something has been calling you for a long time, a clear vibration that crosses the noise of the world and finds you precisely. You breathe slowly. In the distance, the cities continue their script, but you perceive another plot that clicks below, energy lines that are lit, silent circuits that reorganize the inner economy and the external economy, a subtle map where invisible decisions rewrite destinations. You wonder why today, why here, and the answer is drawn not in phrases, but in signs, a word that followed you, an insistent dream, a number that reappeared. Something whispers that this message comes on time because you are ready to listen to it, ready to choose with the fierce calm of who remembers its origin, ready to look at the horizon of the new era and recognize its contour in your own breathing. For months you have noticed cracks in everyday life. Not only in markets or speeches, but in the habits you gave by natural. You feel that an ancient architecture loses strength, like a faded facade that is supported by custom. In silence, you begin to distinguish the new foundation that asks for a step: integrity, synchrony, correspondence between what you think, what you say, and what you do. In that line, you listen to three names that bust in the global conversation, such as symbols and mirrors: Trump, the QFS, and the Galactic Federation. Not as a foreign show, not as fanaticism or label, but as a triangle of forces that invites you to a loving examination of coherence. Where do you direct your attention, your energy, your will? What feed code in each small decision? Trump breaks into the public screen as an artifact of fracture and contrast, a note that causes answers, which forces you to look in the mirror of your judgments and your loyalties. You feel near or distant, it moves or bothers you, but places you in front of an intimate question: what do you do with polarity when your door plays? It is not about the character, but the power of your choice before the tension of the story. You can yield to the reaction, or you can turn the conflict into consciousness, the difference in creative pulse. In the end, it is not a last name that determines your destiny, but the quality of the agreement you make with you every morning when you decide which voice amplify. The QFS, for you, is no longer a technical rumor or a distant promise, but a living principle: transparency, traceability, order that honors. You perceive it as a river of light that circulates in subtle networks, a fine accounting where the value has a root in the truth and not in anxiety. When you think of resources, you remember that every resource first is born in consciousness, and you dare to ask if your private economy reflects the economy you yearn for the world. Do you pay time what you owe? Blessing what you receive? Do you appreciate what you deliver? Each adjustment at your table, each plan you write, every expense you leave behind, becomes silent declaration to the planet's fabric. The Galactic Federation looks out at your intuition as a broad family memory. You do not need telescopes to recognize your rumor. It is enough to listen to how, when you act with dignity, life aligns. They are codes of respect, non-aggression agreements, assistance pacts that honor free will. You do not imagine spectacular battles, but interoperability of the spirit, clean channels where guidance flows when you choose humility, discipline, and service. You realize the true interstellar diplomacy begins in your home, in the way you speak, organize, pay, aid, forgive. I invite you to a first practice: order your table as if it were an interstellar console. Remove papers, clean surfaces. Groups what is necessary and release what it hinders. Breathe 3 times before touching your phone. Today writes 3 transactions that do not add up to your life and decide to close them with gratitude. The external order is a message that you send to the network: I am available to better manage the flow they entrust me. I am ready to guard value without waste or guilt. I also invite you to a practice of forgiveness, not as a concession of superiority, but as hygiene of the soul. Think of a name that still tempts you, in an interrupted conversation, in an agreement that broke. Feel in your body the knot that is activated, and tell the knot that you already understood the lesson. Today you write a short message that does not reopen the conflict or claim applause: a message that only says, I choose peace, respect your path, advance in freedom. When you delete the emotional debt, your internal ledger is synchronized with a larger system, and the intimate QFS releases credit of clarity for your next steps. First microsite, you walk to the roof when the wind brings salt and electricity. In your hands you wear a notebook and a small device that vibrates with a bluish pulse. The sky, black and deep, looks like a dome that keeps signals. Suddenly, you feel a faint buzz, as if invisible antennas will turn to you from distant orbits. There is no show, there are belonging. You open the notebook, support the right palm on the lid and decide to register a commitment. For 20-1 days, you will pay a concrete debt that you avoided, serenity, without drama, with gratitude. Seal the page with your breathing and lower the stairs with the widened chest, knowing that diplomacy with yourself opened its first embassy. In the midst of this fabric, I ask you not to succumb to the noise. The labels seek to divide, the algorithms want your fragmented attention, you claim sovereignty of focus. Inside you, a compass begins to respond not to trends, but on purpose. When a slogan intends to drag you, you ask yourself, does this build order, bring truth, dignify others, improve me? If the answer is no, you depart without hate and return to your table, because there a world is forged that does not ask permission to the stridency. To sustain that compass, you practice millimeter coherence. Today you choose that your word is worth more than any fluctuation of the environment. If you promise, you meet; if you doubt, you say that you doubt; if you don't know, you confess that you don't know and open to learn. Coherence does not be isolated, it makes you reliable, and the reliable invites flow. When life recognizes that you respond with cleanliness, life trusts you higher responsibilities. Every day you do spiritual engineering with everyday materials. You breathe before answering a message. You close the room door and hold 10 minutes of silence. You write 3 lines of gratitude with slow lyrics. And when the world urges you to comment, you choose the simple gesture that it builds. Galactic Command Align Now. You give yourself permission to see the figure of Trump as a catalyst that proves your maturity, not as an idol or villain, but as a mirror of your reactivity. You observe how your body is tense from certain news and practices amic alchemy. You inhale for 4 times, you retain for 4, exhale them for 6, and when exhaling the story that contains you. You place yourself in a broader point of view, where the personal loses volume and the essentials ascends. You ask yourself this question: what concrete decision can I make today so that my life reflects the order that I yearn to contemplate on the planet? While you answer it, you feel a clear pulse in the sternum, a stability that does not depend on the sway of the gallery. Now design your minimum viable plan of clean abundance. It traces in 3 layers: care of your energy, clarity in your relationships, resource management. In the first, you commit yourself with sufficient sleep, simple food, water and movement; in the second, with kind honesty and crisp limits; in the third, with habits that honor each currency that enters and leaves. Your map does not seek approval, seeks congruence. From that congruence a new type of security springs that does not need noise to feel solid. You return to your table and open a file where you list your subscriptions, your automatic payments, your little leaks. You name everything with precision, without judgment. Cancels the unnecessary, renegotiate with respect the adjustable, establish a minimum service fund. You have a week to complete financial cleaning in brands. Each micro decision removes sand from the engine of your destination and adds clarity oil. Galactic Command Align Now. Your environment begins to reflect the new music: less urgency, more rhythm; less dispersion, more purpose. You discover that firmness and tenderness can live in your voice, that you can say not without hurting, that you can say yes without delivering to what it drains. In this first journey, the energy you previously spent in fighting narratives is released to build tools. You stop collecting enemies and start collecting acts of coherence. You close the day with a phrase that seals your address and that your chest recognizes as a loving order. Galactic Command Align Now. You enter the second section with the serenity of those who learn to walk without hurry. Now your focus opens to the wide network, to the links that support you and stretch you. You wonder how to serve from what you have at hand, not from fantasies of greatness. You understand that the architecture of the new era is built with small hands, constant acts, clear agreements. You propose a simple rule: you are not going to sleep without having produced value in at least one close heart. Value can be a friendly explanation, a shared food, a text that relieves, a technical problem solved, a timely transfer, a listening without interruptions. Every night, when reviewing your day, you look if your balance had gain in humanity. And if you discover loss, you decide an act of repair for the next morning. Second microscene, you approach an extensive row where the sun falls vertically and the air smells like warm asphalt. Many look at the clock impatiently, others steal shadow under a cornice. You observe that the atmosphere could be broken in irritation, and choose to add a new piece to the board. You buy water for those who are behind you, you offer an improvised seat to whom it trembles, questions with delicacy if someone needs to make a call. You don't make speeches, you take place. In your pocket you feel a slight heat, as if an invisible card responded to your decision with a flash, and smile because you recognize the language of the Federation. When you provide dignity, the network responds with dignity. The name QFS reminds you that the value is not created out of nowhere, it is recognized and promoted in clean interactions. You decide that your digital signature and your emotional signature will coincide. In private you will do what you defend in public. This transforms your invisible account. In the biggest book of life, trust deposits begin to appear that multiply your opportunities without shouting. Without looking for it, new allies play your door with projects that vibrate like you. To honor forgiveness in an operational way, you feel with a hot cup and a blank sheet. You write the name of a person with whom you broke contact, and underneath 3 learning that this story left you. Then you decide what concrete gesture you will do: a pending payment, a return, a brief letter that closes with respect. You give yourself a term that you can fulfill and register it as a commitment. As you meet, you feel your breathing get wide and available. You also rehearse gratitude as a discipline. Thank you does not mean denying problems, it means recognizing that your life keeps beauty reservations even on rough days. Today you look at 5 objects that surround you and blessing for their silent service. Then you look at your hands and thank your faithfulness. A brightness rises from your fingers to the eyes, and the room seems to expand half a centimeter, as if the matter responded to the honor you offer. You train to accelerate calm. When a news hits you, you activate the sequence: inhale, count, name the valuable, choose the following useful gesture. In that sequence, the emotion finds channel and the mind clears. Your day acquires that fine line that distinguishes the impulse of the purpose, the reaction of the answer. From that line, you walk with a phrase that adjusts course without lifting dust. You guide the new era. Third practice: creative financial coherence. You open an account dedicated to service and allocate a fixed percentage every week, however small. You don't do it to exhibit, you do it to educate your spiritual muscles. You promise transparency, write down each contribution and each exit, you share with whom the detail corresponds, you correct if you are wrong. You put a human purpose to each movement, because money is not wrong on the way when it receives a clean. There are nights that it will cost you to hold this discipline. Those days you return to the minimum: a bedroom, clear table, attentive breathing, a glass of water, 2 messages of affection, a simple prayer before sleeping. Do not punish yourself for retreating half a step. You recognize that your process does not seek perfection, seeks proof. Thus, the constancy is drawing a highway where there was only trail before. And on that highway, help comes faster. You may notice that old friendships become softer and that others distance themselves without drama. Do not blame, do not retain, do not negotiate your peace. Renewed pacts with whom they vibrate in project, and silent blessing to those who choose another landscape. You become kind of your limits to be generous without resentment. Your compass confirms the direction with a phrase that resonates as a wave that does not stop. You guide the new era. Stay until the end, there is the key you came to look for. Now the triangle reappears before you, Trump as a voltage and contrast mirror, the QFS as an order design, the Federation as a cooperation pact. Instead of discussing for hours, you take an hour to build something useful. You edit a document that others can use, you clarify an instruction, you correct an error that corresponded to you. You feel that the noise is reduced when the service increases, and you understand a lesson that did not teach you in any school. The purpose creates energy that the ego cannot manufacture. With that energy you make a coherence exam, you look at your information channels and decide a cleaner diet. You stay with 3 sources that raise you, they inform you with rigor or pacify you, and turn off the rest for 7 days. You check how your mental field breathes better, how you recover hours that were used in useless discussions. Those free hours become study, practice, silence, repair, creation. In the midst of this adjustment, a question arises: what does it mean to you? You discover that power is not domain over others, but dominion over your internal errands. Power is knowing how to stop when the impulse wants to govern, it is knowing how to advance when fear makes noise. The power I speak to you is measured in the ability to take care. And to that extent, you begin to become reliable for dimensions that observe you with serene joy. You close this section with a decision that you write down with firm letter. Your course is not negotiated with the urgency or the thirst for approval. Your course is refined with small acts, with the way you pay, order, take care, repairs. From that certainty, you take a step that you were postponing and give it with beauty. Before sleeping, you hold the phrase that summarizes the way in which the horizon that already appears, and you feel the breath accommodate to the compass of the tide. You guide the new era. Start the last section and discover lighter. Not because reality has changed by magic, but because your internal musculature responds to another severity. Your house became an operational basis for silent diplomacy. Each object takes place, each conversation has a channel, each currency has a mission. From that center, you look at the world without escaping or fighting. I invite you to name your fears with poetic precision. The fear of rejection, error, lack, loneliness. Do not hide them in high phrases, write them down as who orders seeds before sowing. And for every fear, you decide a strategic tenderness action, call someone with whom it is hard for you to speak, publish something useful even if it is not perfect, save a minimum percentage, go for 10 minutes, prepare a simple food with love. The fears become compasses that point to where to practice. You observe the storyboard again. Notes that some need the story to be simplified and heroes and villains to feel control. You, on the other hand, choose the love complexity that recognizes the dignity of all even in their confusion. That doesn't make you naive, it makes you free. Free to correct without humiliating, free to disagree without hatred, free to move without asking permission from blame. I end this freedom, you make a solemn gesture in the intimate, you put your hand on the heart and synchronize the beat with your breath. When inhaling, you imagine that a clear flow enters through the crown and runs through your column to the plants. When exhaling, you imagine that this flow is ordered as a luminous mesh on your table and your devices. Then you repeat a short phrase that your body understands as a protocol of operational calm, and let the air finish rounding it inside. You breathe QFS alone. Third microashina, the morning brings a fresco that smells like clean metal. You open your laptop and white light paints your fingers. There is no hurry, there is focus. Configure simple alerts for your payments, reminding programs for your service acts, prepare a file with backup instructions in case someone should continue your homework. Before closing, you make a small transfer to the background that you dedicated to help. Your face relaxes, your back thanks, and a sense of belonging embraces you like a blanket that falls from heaven. Now you cross a threshold. You remember an old phrase, where there is order, there is room for grace. You realize that this order does not shrink you, it expands you. It does not make you rigid, it makes you fertile. In fertility, new ideas descend gently, a collaboration that you had not contemplated, an adjustment in your trade, a practice of silence that visits you to dawn. Do not ask the world to guarantee stability before acting, you decide to act from the stability you already cultivate. You find beauty in the simple, and in the simple ceiling appears for the miracle. Your breathing, your table, your word, your account, your agenda, your bed. Everything is aligned with the pulse that you already recognize and that you seal again with a phrase that today sounds like a compass and code at the same time. You breathe QFS alone. At this point, the possibility of reconciling polarities appears. You know you will not control the ocean, but you can learn to read the sea. A part of the world will choose noise, another, silence, one part will choose fight, another, creation. You choose creation. Creation with the materials you have, your attention, your care, your pulse. Your tools, your time. You may feel that something sacred names you inside a language without words. He calls you to leave a microscopic legacy that your signature does not need to sustain. A child who will learn to breathe before reacting because you chose to breathe today, a woman who will receive a timely transfer, a worker who will take a clear instruction that saves him 3 hours of frustration. What you leave will not be trending, but it will last. Because what is born of care roots in places that no algorithm knows. Then, you return to the triangle to give it an intimate and definitive sense. If Trump's figure provokes you, you turn the provocation into lucidity and choose not to give your attention to the sterile fight. If the announcement of the QFS excites or confuses you, you make the emotion into concrete practice, order, transparent, serve, share. If the memory of the Galactic Federation moves you, you turn the emotion into a protocol of respect. Do not invade, do not impose, do not violate spaces, and allow the help to come when your humility authorizes it. Thus, your interior micropace begins to resemble the country you dream. You now decide a specific and realizable act. You open your contact list and send a short message to the person with whom you can heal a pain circuit. Do not justify, do not weaken your dignity, do not reopen wounds, you just say what is necessary to close with respect. Then you get up, you tend the bed, sweep the floor, clean the table, you wear a glass of water where it is needed. When you finish, you write down your financial commitment of the week and make the first movement that materializes it. Your day changes flavor. And the world, without knowing it, receives a silent signal of stability. You go up last time to the roof. The sky, now dark violet, has calm ocean features. You speak quietly, not to ask, but to thank, for the force that he held you, for the sensitivity that guided you, for the opportunities to repair you found. You promise to take care of what a rare seed is taken care of. You close your eyes and listen to the rumor of an old agreement that returns to you with a new brightness. It is the intimate climax. In a simple and powerful gesture, you place your hand on the table already clear and offer your day to the work that brings the most. You send the forgiveness message, you order the pending file, you make the minimum transfer to the service fund, turn off the device for an hour to listen to your complete breathing. When you open your eyes again, stillness is not empty silence, it is new architecture. In that architecture, your voice becomes refuge and lighthouse, your house becomes base, your resources become river, your path becomes horizon. And on that horizon, seal this journey with the phrase that your body has already memorized and now crown your transit with the elegance of the inevitable. You breathe QFS alone.